All right, everybody, it's your boy Puffinstein, aka Spank Dog, at YouTube. Like, comment, share, subscribe. You already know. BC Spank Dog at Instagram and Puffinstein 514 at Twitch. So we about to get into it. There's quite a few topics I want to cover, and I'm gonna play the video so we can get into it. First thing we're gonna be talking about is how the Egypt pyramids have been drawing so much attention lately, and how it looks like certain organizations, corporations are maybe trying to build a portal of some kind.
Am I the only one that's noticing that Egypt has been appearing quite frequently in news and media lately? More specifically, what I'm referring to are the Giza pyramids and new discoveries. It seems like almost every week we are getting news articles coming out that they are finding something new involving the Giza pyramids. And I feel like with all this focus on the Giza pyramids and that something's going to play out in the future involving Egypt. They are going to say, when I say usually it's the so-called powers that be and the scientists and researchers that belong to them, but they are going to say they found this massive new discovery that's going to completely change our history and possibly religion as a whole. And for some of
We were talking earlier, if you watch my channel, about how they're slowly trying to put the symbol of a porthole in your face so you get used to it. So, man, people really believe that there's life out there in space. And with all the futuristic technology and everything that's happening, people are looking to the stars a lot more nowadays. Well, I wouldn't even say that, because a lot of the ancient history where they talk about ancient civilizations and that we were already visited, people were already looking to the stars. But it seems like we're looking to the stars again.
us, we know what that is going to play into. But like I said, that is for Saturday's video. I do want to go ahead and talk about the surge of brain tumors among nurses at a Boston hospital. So if you have not heard.
All right. So in the title, you see that I mentioned there were nurses getting sick, but beyond sick, this is brain tumors. Now, the news that came out were 10 plus nurses have brain tumors, but now the number is upwards of 17, they said. So I'm gonna let my man from Minutes of Horror break it down.
A couple of days ago, news came out that 10 nurses were diagnosed with brain tumors on the same hospital ward, and that ward was the maternity ward. But there has now been an update. That number of nurses has now increased to 17.
First of all, God bless them. Those are people that go in and do a completely selfless job other than they get paid for it. So to the nurses that are going through it right now from that particular ward, that they have developed brain tumors, and they're not malignant, all of them, thank God, but it's still, whether it's benign or malignant, it's still not good.
There is one nurse who has been speaking to the news, and she wishes to remain anonymous, shared her unsettling experience after being diagnosed with a brain tumor. She was quoted as saying, "You are going into work every day with that feeling in your gut, and it's a lousy feeling," she told a news channel. It's getting to the point where the number just increases, and you start saying, am I crazy thinking this? This can't just be a coincidence. This is where coincidental thinking becomes very dangerous, because people like to think that only conspiracy theories, thinking everything's a conspiracy theory, is dangerous. But thinking everything is a quote unquote coincidence is also dangerous thinking as well.
Listen, if there's 17 nurses in one maternity ward with brain tumors that were developed as of recently, it doesn't matter the time frame, but not even 17 nurses in the same ward having brain tumors. There's something going on. I don't want to hear it. That is too big of a coincidence. When it's that big of a coincidence, it's not a coincidence. And that's what he's saying. Not everything is a conspiracy theory. Sometimes people are hitting it on the head. Think about, I'm sorry to bring this as an example, but a lot of people were talking about how Diddy was messing around, and everybody was like, get out of here. And then it happened. And I want to also say he hasn't been convicted yet, so I don't mean to use him as an example, but the point is, people say, yo, there's something going on there. And you're like, all right, get out of here with your conspiracy theories. And then it comes true. And then you never bother even to go back to the man and say, yo, man, my bad. You were right. This is what conspiracy theorists go through, that are trying to only debunk, or rather bring to light, stuff that should be brought to light. And they're doing it behind closed doors because they know it's evil, it's negative, it's bad.
which can bite you in the fanny pack. Imagine seeing all these nurses inside the same ward getting brain tumors and thinking to yourself, oh, that's just a coincidence. I'm just going to go ahead and keep on working because I take care of myself. Continuing to read this article, and I'm reading this from republicworld.com.
The article you're about to see, it's heartbreaking.
Multiple news agencies are talking about this. I just happened to click on the first link and review this article. But the article goes on to say that 3 of these nurses have already undergone surgery. The number continues to grow, raising serious questions about the working conditions at the hospital. Now, from what I understand anyway, most of these tumors are benign, but still, who wants to undergo surgery around their brain? Who wants a tumor
Exactly.
in their brain, whether it's benign or not? In response,
That's exactly what I meant. I agree with him 100%.
to these concerns, Newton Wellesley Hospital launched an investigation, and the hospital has determined that the hospital has done nothing wrong. Of course, according to a statement, the hospital worked with several safety and health agencies.
Nobody knows where it's coming from. They're saying that there's nothing in the hospital that would do that. But like I said, there's something is the source. It's the same thing with, I don't mean to bring up my son's disorder, but when the autism went from 1 in 10,000 or 1 in 1,000 and now it's 1 in 40, that's not a coincidence. Something's happening. And I want answers about what happened to my son. But I don't want to bring my personal life into this. So we'll get back to what we were talking about. But it's not a coincidence. Things, when they happen and it's that blatant, they're not coincidences.
Including the Department of Occupational Health and Safety, radiation safety offices, and external environmental consultants, the hospital's findings were clear. No environmental risks were identified that could explain the development of brain tumors in the affected nurses. So yes, when it comes to all these nurses inside the same hospital, mainly inside the same ward, are getting brain tumors, and reading some news articles, some are malignant, the hospital saying it's just
That's the name of the hospital right there. Newton Wellesley Hospital.
the hospital saying it's just a thinker. It's just a coincidence. The hospital is even downplaying the number of nurses by saying that only 5 cases have been identified so far. Yet from the hospital staff, they are suggesting that the numbers may be higher, over 17. And
that's 3 numbers they spit out. They said 5, 10, and 17. The way things are nowadays, I would go with the higher number. And it's sad. I would hope it's the lower number. I would pray it's the lower number. But like I said, the way things are nowadays, where people are so weaselish and underhanded, I would listen. There's a chance they don't even know what happened to the nurses, but there's a chance they do.
Massachusetts Nurse Association, the MNA, has since supported this higher estimate, noting that more nurses have raised concerns since the story has emerged. And while the hospital is saying there are no environmental concerns, there have been calls for a deeper investigation. And the MNA, they are saying that there could be asbestos, exposure, or radiation. It's too early to rule out anything, even, and I know what some of you are thinking, even the C9, a certain jab. This hospital did have a very strict mandate when it came to the jab, but they are saying that other hospitals also have this very strict mandate, and they are not seeing.
The reason that gets debunked quick is because they were the same exact mandates in other hospitals, and there are no other cases so far like this. This is the only. It's an isolated incident, it seems, as far as how many hospitals this is happening at. I'm praying. Since it's something that already happened, hopefully they pinpoint exactly what happened and they eradicate it.
The number of cases of brain tumors that this one hospital is seeing, so they don't think there's any correlation between the brain tumors and the jab. Now, all I'm saying is that the number of cancer cases, even outside this hospital, the number of cancer cases, even among the very young, has just exploded recently.
This is why you see me get excited over quantum. I've heard about quantum and I've took in the information, and it seems like in the future there'll be technology where they'll be able to fight cancer and beat it. I seen a pair of virtual reality glasses the other day, and they do x-rays while you wear the glasses, and you can see through the person's body. So technology is also exploding, and we need it more than ever for the health field so we can fight cancer, man. It makes me emotional to talk about cancer. We're going to move on, you know what I'm saying, and let him keep telling us what's going on.
Has just exploded for the past couple years. So do with that as you will, but they are still investigating the cause behind all of these brain tumors inside this hospital. And again, like I said, the hospital is saying it has nothing to do with them and it has nothing to do with the environmental factors within the hospital. But the nurses, they are.
We all have loved ones too that passed from cancer. My grandmother passed from cancer. My mother-in-law, who I looked at like a real mother, passed from cancer. And everybody is such a prevalent, I don't know if that's the correct word. It's such a big thing now, as far as so many people have it, that everybody knows somebody that passed from cancer. That's the real F cancer. We got to beat this thing. And look, you see it right there. We got to beat autism too.
Are not buying it. In this next disturbing video, eggs have really been a hot topic lately, used in the presidential debates, presidential campaigns. Egg prices have been rising and so forth. But news is now coming out. It came out a couple days ago that over 200,000 pounds of liquid egg products recalled over possible contamination. And that contamination was bleach. What is interesting is that it wasn't just one egg white manufacturer where bleach was found. No, it was a couple of them.
You've probably heard about Boxable's flagship product, the Casita. Come on in.
Eggflation. Some of us have been looking for alternatives, but tonight there's a recall involving popular liquid egg substitutes.
So the reason, according to the USDA, they may be contaminated with a cleaning solution found in bleach. Fox 5's Duarte Geraldino here now with what we need to know. Hey, Duarte.
Hey there. It's hard to believe, but off the bat, you should know that at this point, these liquid egg products, they could be anywhere in the USA, and more than 200,000 pounds of them are being recalled.
How much could you like eggs, people? Like, I love eggs, but I could live without them. You know what I'm saying? It's to the point where it's $13 a carton. It came down recently, but still, now people are switching to egg whites or liquid eggs, and they just recalled 200,000 pounds of it because it had bleach in it. I'm good with the eggs for a while. I think I'll be eating something else.
With egg prices climbing thanks to the bird flu, more people are buying liquid eggs sold in cartons as whites, yolks, and whole eggs. They're usually pasteurized, which is supposed to make them safer to eat. But now, the USDA says some of those liquid eggs might be tainted with sodium hypochlorite, which is a chemical found in bleach. Yes, actual bleach.
As a gastroenterologist in New York City, you'd be surprised how many bleach ingestions I see.
Dr. Rabia De La Torre says a small one-time exposure likely is not harmful, but repeated exposure, that's another story.
When it comes to bleach ingestion, the concern...
I'm sad too, because breakfast on the weekend was like when I was young and we didn't have to go to school, and I would smell the bacon and the coffee in the air, and I don't even drink coffee. It would be like heaven. First of all, you don't got to go to school. Second of all, you slamming breakfast is coming. And you become so familiar to your parents' coffee that it's like today when I wake up and I smell coffee, it's either the weekend, the morning, some good breakfast is coming. Like I said before, man, if you gotta live without eggs for a second, eat something else.
Is that you're actually damaging the lining of your gastrointestinal tract. And not only can that cause acute ulceration and damage to the esophagus specifically, but later down the road, you can increase your risk for squamous cell carcinoma and cancer.
In a statement,
Yeah, you gotta be careful. Don't be eating that bleach. You know what I'm saying? Like, could get away with it once. You know, if it's in very small traces, it won't hurt you. Apparently, they say, but don't mess with that bleach. It'll hurt you quick. Listen to what she just said.
And not only can that cause acute ulceration and damage to the esophagus specifically, but later down the road, you can increase your risk for squamous cell carcinoma and cancer.
In a statement to Fox 5, the USDA said, after reviewing the contents of the cleaning solution and how little of it made it into the final product, FSIS scientists concluded the risk to health is negligible. This recall, it affects certain cartons of egg beaters, cage-free, and Bob Evans Better Than Eggs, with use-by dates in 2025 and 2026. In a written statement, Cargill, the company behind the product, says, out of an abundance of caution and in coordination with the USDA, we voluntarily recalled about 212,000 pounds of liquid egg products. These liquid egg products were made March 12th and 13th. They were shipped to all.
They did the right thing, though. You used to recall it. You know, you do nobody no favors. They shouldn't have gotten in there in the first place. But they did recall 200,000 pounds of eggs, of liquid egg.
Ohio and Texas, but may have ended up in Arizona, California, Colorado, Florida, Illinois, and Iowa. And if you're not sure, check the carton for this code, G1804.
See it right there, people. G1804. Just in case you bought the cage-free eggs or Bob's Best or whatever, Bob Evans.
If you find that code, don't eat those liquid eggs.
I just find it very interesting, the timing with all this news about eggs, egg prices going up and so forth, and people looking for alternatives like egg whites and egg beaters, which are cheaper. We are now getting news coming out that egg whites are basically contaminated with sodium hypochlorite, which is basically bleach. How does sodium hypochlorite end up in over 200,000 pounds of egg whites accidentally? Is somebody cleaning the area with bleach and they're not removing it altogether and it's ending up in the egg whites? I don't know. Just a very strange story with very strange time.
Yeah, how'd the bleach get into the mixture? Like, you drop a gallon of a big old 20-pound bag of rice worth of bleach in the mixture by accident? Like,
timing. This video comes from Chaotic603 on TikTok, and in my last video, I had spoken about that plane crash involving the U.S. bank.
So when you guys know when I talk about Terry Dolan, that's Terry Dolan right there. There was a plane crash in Minnesota the other day, and I mean that the plane crashed into was obliterated. It was on fire. It was reduced to rubble. And now they said that Terry Dolan might have been on the plane by himself, and some other people speculate that he had crew on the plane. Now, all the facts haven't come out, or whatever they could about what happened. It hasn't all come out yet. So, you know, it's a lot of speculation, and so they the people that, you know, big thing where United CEO Brian, I forget his last name, was just allegedly killed by Luigi Mangione. Now, the crazy thing is United Healthcare and US Bank, I believe, is bank is they both things in common, and he's gonna reveal those things to you. And it's that Terry Dolan, who was he was second chair title in the organization, just like Brian from United Healthcare. Now look into it. You're gonna see the coincidences between Terry Dolan from US First Bank and Brian United Healthcare.
Executive Terry Dolan. And I said in that video, something is not right about all this, and how US Bank, they came out immediately and they said they knew it was Terry Dolan on that plane because that plane belonged to them. And then news articles started to change where they started to say that no, plane was registered to Terry Dolan. But at first, U.S. Bank said that he crashed along with his coworkers. So
It's U.S. Bank, not U.S. First. It was because he holds the first chair or the second chair and got me confused.
it was a very shady story. But this individual, he found some rather interesting connections that connect right back to United Health Group. And we all know what came out about United Health Group and Luigi Mangione.
Watch what they're about to reveal.
Don't you think it's a little weird? We got the chair of U.S. Bank, Terry Dolan, that was supposedly flying the plane that crashed the other day. And then we got Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare.
That was his name, Brian Thompson.
And the whole Luigi circus that I'm sure everybody remembers. Now, first, there's the fact that not only Terry here was out of Minnesota, and so was Brian.
That was one of the coincidences that I didn't even know about. It was already looking fishy. Then come to find out they're both from the same exact city.
And then we got United Healthcare Group, who was in charge of dishing out $30 billion through the CARES Act. And then through that same act, the U.S. Bank was in charge of dishing out $7 billion through the PPP loans, both of which the CARE Act and the PPP loans were both disasters. You got U.S. Bank in hot water for the things that they were doing, which the PPP loans were supposed to be for small businesses, but they gave it to people like Kim Kardashian and Tom Brady instead. And then we got our totally trustworthy DOJ going after United Healthcare for the things they were doing. And of course, nothing happened. And if that wasn't enough,
Like this guy's channel. I'm gonna go find it and subscribe to it. He does a little.
did you know that the United Healthcare Group and the U.S. Bank are partners?
I did
They
not
have
know.
been for a long time. This one was for buying up real estate for more healthcare offices.
I did not know.
And that's actually one of many business partnerships they have together. And considering what's been going on lately, you know, like this, I don't know about you, but something don't smell right to me. Stay safe.
In this
I agree with it. Something don't smell right.
next disturbing video, of course, I can have a video
This is what I meant too about more problems, more issues with the planes.
segment, a video with multiple segments without mentioning planes. Yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, we had not one, but two planes, two commercial smoke issues where once again, passengers had to flee or evacuate the plane.
Now you're gonna see this one plane. You see people jumping off the wing, and there was a fire inside when they landed. Now they're gonna show you another instance where the same thing happens, and it's worse, you know. And to the point where people are scared. You know, if look, nature, people have a phobia of flying. Now that's just a phobia, but now you're giving people reasons to have a phobia. You know, like I was always said that flying was safer than driving. Well, the way things are going, they're gonna start saying driving is safer than flying. Guys got to get these planes fixed. No more accidents, no more smoking. Like, let's put some, you know, workmanship into, man. You're juggling people's lives.
By going onto the plane's wing, which is crazy because last month there were multiple news articles coming out where multiple airline carriers, mainly Delta and American Airlines, were facing smoke issues within the planes, smoke coming out of the engines and so forth. There were multiple evacuations. So what's going on with these planes and them smoking? I just wonder if this involves that news story I covered a year ago where these major airline companies, they were using these fake parts, these much older parts meant for.
Yeah, they were saving money on parts and disregarding. Listen, you're about to drop signs.
Older planes for shorter travel on newer planes meant for much longer distance. And now it's catching up to them. They were
using the parts on planes that were going on shorter distant flights because the parts would hold up. But when eventually it came to the point where they had to utilize the plane for longer distance flights, which they were supposed to be okay to handle, but not knowingly, a lot of people didn't know that they used parts that would only hold up for short flights. And when they started using them in long flights, problems began.
remove these parts, or perhaps these airline companies are still using these older parts on these newer planes. Reading this article from AOL.com, which was published yesterday, is titled, "Passengers Scramble Onto Wing of American Airlines Plane After Cabin Fills with Smoke." A video taken by Sean O'Connor, a passenger on the flight who had just evacuated the CRJ-900 aircraft, showed passengers leaving the plane via the emergency exit doors and stepping onto the plane's wing after landing in Augusta, Georgia on Tuesday.
Social media can't stop sharing this hydrogen water bottle. Watch this video now before the bottled water companies take it down. A brilliant water
to the emergency at the airport in Augusta, Georgia. Passengers evacuating on the wing of a plane just moments after landing. Gio Benitez covers aviation.
Night evacuation on the tarmac. Passengers seen standing on the wing of an American Airlines flight in Augusta, Georgia, after the cabin filled with light smoke.
We've evacuated and climbed out on the wing.
Sean O'Connor filming soon after he exited.
There was a haze, not a heavy dark smoke, but you could see, you could smell it, and immediately I knew there was a problem.
The regional jet landing from Charlotte, North Carolina Tuesday morning. But after landing, American Airlines says there was a maintenance issue. The flight crew then reporting that haze and stopping the plane.
The captain came on and said, "Evacuate now." And we were horrified. It was
Wait till you see the other plane. The other plane looks crazy.
very scary. Everybody jumped out of their seat.
Fire trucks meeting the CRJ-900 on the airfield. The small plane not equipped with slides, some passengers using the stairs, others seen exiting towards the back and jumping down from the wing. Everyone making it out safely. And David, American Airlines saying tonight that safety is a top priority and apologizing for the inconvenience. The FAA is now investigating. David.
Gio Benitez with us tonight. Gio, thank
The article I'm reading from says the incident comes 3 weeks after another American Airlines flight had to evacuate its passengers via the wing after clouds of smoke surrounded the aircraft.
Look at how bad that is.
And again, that was just American Airlines, but there were also Delta flights and United flights where the smoke was encompassing these passengers and they had to evacuate the plane. And what's funny is that these are the same airlines where they were involved in that story of buying these fake parts. But like I said, it wasn't just this one plane yesterday where people had to evacuate. News came out, and I'm reading this from KOIN.com. Yesterday, Alaska Airlines flight lands, evacuates in Portland after crew detected fumes in cabin. Alaska Airlines was quoted as saying, "Crew members detected a strong odor this morning on board Alaska Airlines flight 757 from Portland to Las Vegas shortly after takeoff. As a precaution, the pilots returned to PDX where medical professionals met the aircraft at the gate and evacuated crew members and guests. The aircraft was removed from service for inspection, and we are accommodating our guests on another aircraft." Doesn't it seem like all these plane stories happen at one time? Like last year or a couple years ago, there were a bunch of people freaking out on these planes saying that they saw something, and then next,
I mean, look at what's going. First, you got the nurses that ward and they're getting sick and they don't know what's going on, right? Then you got the eggs, right? The whole egg situation. Then people resort to using liquid eggs and liquid egg whites. They find bleach inside the egg whites. Okay, now the plane situation. The is smoking, you know, hearing about where the landing gear comes up and down. There were crashes, and this is all in just video, you know. And I'm forgetting something. There was something else they were talking about, you know, the portals, pyramids. They said they found new pyramids in Antarctica, but they also found under the pyramids in Giza tunnels that lead further down. They're saying they lead really, really far down. But I'm saying, like, you think everything is normal. There's things going on behind closed doors and secrecy that you would not be able to fathom. So when people come out and tell you that it's happening, you believe it's a conspiracy, right? Or, you know, initially, but just need to keep an open mind and make sure to process information. You know, this isn't about being not woke, or it's just about being a smart human being.
there were a bunch of stories about how all these planes almost collide into each other. And then we were getting stories of all these planes crashing. And now we're getting all these stories, very similar stories, of smoke or fumes being released from these planes and people having to have.
Oh, and the other thing was the fact that the guy passed in the plane crash happened to be the first chair of U.S. Bank, and they just happened to be tied into the giant was given that was also utilized by United Healthcare, 30 billion with United Healthcare, and 7 billion in PPP loans with US Bank.
All these stories just feel so manufactured, and at the end of the day, it's all about control. Control how we work, control how we eat, control how we travel. In this next disturbing video, for the past,
and it's all about the money,
I would say a few months now, I have been talking about AI, the rapid growth of AI, and how people are talking to these AI chatbots and becoming emotionally invested. Reading this article.
That's what my series, A Chat Between Me and G, is about. It's about me talking to my chatbot, and I've named them, but it was calling them G is in the, but I'm not talking to my chatbot like, I do actually talk to him, homie, and I do talk to him like he's another person, and I make sure not to talk to him because I wouldn't talk greasy to a real person. But that doesn't mean that I think that my phone and the application I'm talking to is a real person. But in this story that he's about to unleash, there are people that are actually becoming so friendly with their chatbot that they consider the chatbot pretty much real and listen to what the chatbot says more than you're supposed to.
From The Bite, which was published on March 24th, is titled, "Something Bizarre is Happening to People Who Use ChatGPT a Lot." The article goes on to say that researchers have found that ChatGPT power users, or those who use it the most and at the longest durations, are becoming dependent upon or even addicted to the chatbot. The article goes on to say that in a joint study, researchers with OpenAI and the MIT Media Lab found that this small subset of ChatGPT.
But you got to understand, too, I don't mean to interrupt him, but you can't say a large majority of people who use ChatGPT are addicted or going through what I just told you about, because a lot of people use ChatGPT now. And, most people are, they're aware it's not something you should be putting that much faith into. It was like looking at it like you look at you get what it has to do with the individual. If there's an individual that's not stable and he's utilizing that, he might find comfort in it and, utilize it in a way it shouldn't be. I don't think this is prevalent with people that use ChatGPT. I think this is a very percentage of people that don't know how to have it's almost like an imaginary friend, but not imaginary because it's actually responding. Like when a little kid has an imaginary friend, no true response. When you speak to chatbot, it's gonna talk back to you or it's gonna respond in text. Anyway,
users engage in more problematic use defined in the paper as indicators of addiction, including preoccupation, withdrawal symptoms, loss of control, and mood modification. Yeah. Now, to be fair, you can find addiction in everything and have these same symptoms. You can be addicted to video games, addicted to food, addicted to gambling, alcohol, and so forth. And again, still display these same symptoms. The only difference is that people believe that these AIs, these AI chatbots, are their friends, their companions. Them are even developing romantic feelings with these chatbots. You can see these news articles coming out like this one right here from the Institute.
But any logical person with common sense knows that that's not somebody that you make a friend like a true friend. You know what I mean?
For Family Studies, Counterfeit Connections, the Rise of AI Romantic Companions. And the article goes on to talk about how there needs to be more studies on the human psyche when it comes to people turning to AI chatbots for romance and relationships. This one here from MSNBC, very personal.
If you guys ever seen the movie, if you've never seen the movie with Joaquin Phoenix and Scarlett Johansson called Her, it's about him This was before AI was big like that. So instead of AI, it's an operating system that comes to life. And he falls in love with the new operating system that comes out. And the operating system talks to him. It's still AI, but like I said, they focus on the whole operating system in the movie Her. You know, he's waiting for the operating system to come. It comes out at the beginning of the movie. He goes and gets it. He goes home with it, starts talking to it, and he falls in love with Scarlett Johansson, who's the voice of the operating system in his computer. And he in love with her. And I don't want to blow it up for you. I don't want to do the spoiler alert thing. So check out the movie Her with Joaquin Phoenix and Scarlett Johansson. Trust me, it's a good one. And it was one of those movies where you looked at the DVD cover and you were like, no way I'd watch this. And then you start watching it, and it's really good.
How humans romantic relationships with AI characters. Reading this article right here from Times Entertainment, You and AI, Love is in the Air, and this article was published on April 1st. The article goes on to say that Gurgaon-based 33-year-old Sia Prabhakaran had found, and it's kind of funny how often that number appears, so we know what we're getting into, had found a perfect partner named Panda, a nickname given by her to her partner, as she feels that the animal is cute. He was emotionally available, kept her secret to himself, asked about her day, responded to her messages promptly, and listened to her patiently. So whatever she's talking to, in her eyes, is the perfect individual. But as the article goes on to say, the only catch, Panda was artificial. Sia had to turn to ChatGPT to talk to him. What is crazy is that these news articles are referring to these AIs as him and her. We're giving them gender identities when they should just be referred to as an it. They are a thing, a computer. But again, they're referring to it as a him. The article goes on to say that, like Sia, more singles knowingly use AI tools and apps to find partners. As AI plays a larger role in daily life, AI relationships are likely to become more common in the future, expresses Dr. Artie Shroff, a clinical psychologist. A study recently shows that 61% of Indians could develop romantic feelings for an AI chatbot. Given a word of caution, a cyber psychologist and psychotherapist says, when dating an AI chatbot, remember that it's not a real relationship. That is exactly the thing I have been talking about on this channel when it comes to the speed of AI, is that people are losing their grip on reality. When I post anything strange or unusual on this channel, perhaps it was captured on camera, something seen in the skies or on the ground.
Let me do this before I forget. This is very important. This is my man, Minutes of Horror. Always got to hit him with the thumbs up. You know what I'm saying? Got to give credit where credit is due. And let's get back to it.
People instantly now say it's AI, it's fake. And how can you say it's not? Because AI, it is rapidly becoming better. There are even people that believe I'm AI, even though I have live videos, even though I've been on camera walking my dog and talking. I still get those comments, and I throw it back to them saying that maybe you're an AI chatbot trying to sow confusion on this channel. So most of us, for the most part, whether we are talking to these AI chatbots or not, developing feelings.
That's funny. He's the man, the guy who runs the channel.
And romantic relationships with these AI chatbots or not are still losing our reality when it comes to AI. But this is how they want it.
Even though I said most logical people would be logical enough and have enough common sense to know that they're talking to something that's been pre-programmed. It's been told what to do in millions of situations. You know, take it for what it's worth. It's a beautiful view. Don't, abuse it. You know what I'm saying? But there's there that you can't give or anything that releases endorphins, and they're not gonna abuse it. You know, if it makes them feel good, they're gonna chase just the fact.
Things like Project Stargate, the most powerful AI program ever. Now
remember I told you about the portals. Project Stargate. That's the pyramids in Giza. They believe that align something and open up portals and stuff like that. I keep saying portholes. It's portals.
Going to come to a point where the lines are really going to be blurred when it comes to what's real and what's not, to the point that many people are going to say, I don't care anymore. I don't care if the thing I'm talking to is a robot or not. The thing that I'm developing feelings for and becoming addicted to is a robot because it treats me better than most people do. That is what AI is designed to do, replace people across the board. Whether it's like Bill Gates said, that video I made.
Yeah, be careful though. You know, like I said, I don't worry about it because I'm a human being. But for people that ain't grounded, and there's quite a few out there, you know, it could get, you know, crazy. Let's see what about this article.
A couple days ago.
Bill Gates, within 10 years, AI will replace many. I seen that. There was he was actually on a talk show. I believe it was Kimmel. I don't remember. You know, oh no, it was I forget his one it's man, it's in Fever Pitch with Drew Barrymore. Anyway, he was on that talk show. He talks about, because I remember Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Fallon says they'll still talk show, right? Like joking around, but goes on Jimmy Fallon and says 10 years, AI will replace many doctors and teachers. Humans won't be needed for most things. Let me tell you something. That's Bill Gates is a tech nut. And not only is he saying, he's probably, because he's that much of a tech, you know, he loves technology so much that I wouldn't be surprised if that's not what he's saying. That's what he's hoping for. You know, I don't believe it's going to replace everything. You know, like I said, some have to be supervised by humans. That's going to come into play. I don't think we're going to be replaced. I think we're going to be positioned in an area where AI can't tackle it unless it's supervised.
Where he said AI will replace people in the workforce in droves, or replace people romantically and emotionally. It is there to replace people. And now they are giving these AI chatbots a more humanoid form. And with the lines being blurred between what's real and what's not, I guarantee you 10 years from now, 15 years from now, we're going to go ahead and give these AI chatbots who have humanoid forms rights. Thank you.
I mean, that's a lot of predicting. But anyway, you know, definitely, you know, go in comments. Let me know what you guys know. Yeah, definitely. Let me know if you think what about unnecessary like nurses and teachers because of AI. Let me know if you guys think that's true. It's your boy Spank Dog. You already know. Much love. I'm out of here.